Therefore, the customer wasn't even getting what they asked for. They were getting something different. And obviously, it was a lot of customer complaints. That's because they weren't tracking inventory appropriately. All right, in this video, we're going to go over the sales process automation, another one of my favorite parts. Just to tell you a quick story. So back when I first graduated high school, I was looking for a job and I wanted to develop my skills in certain areas. And one of the biggest ones was communication. I can honestly tell you, I was a dumb jock, played football, played sports, and I really didn't focus too much attention on becoming a better speaker, better writer, better all that stuff. So I signed up for some sales training. And the first thing I did was I sold timeshare over the phone. I was the guy that would call and say, hey, you've won a free vacation. We'd love to send you out to Brazil. And all you got to do is sit through an hour-long meeting. But it's a quick meeting. You'll go through it and then yada, yada, yada. And so I was doing phone sales like that. So I learned from telemarketing sales. And then later on, I established better sales training when I went to Dell, and I learned how to do the Dell perfect conversation, which is what they train on. And then from Dell, I went to another company called Sweetwater where I did phone sales. And that's kind of where I made my mark as a person that was able to sell over the phone. And I remember that Google had just come out. So we just had the ability to go and do Google searches on certain businesses. We would look for businesses. We were selling studio recording products. If you were in the music business, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of the equipment like these microphones and things like that, this is what I would sell. We would contact companies basically off of a Google search. We'd get their phone number, then we'd make a cold call, introduce ourselves, establish a relationship. We'd have a database, but it was like a raw database. It wasn't like an application we can log in online. Like we had this raw database, we put in the information. However, there was nothing in the system that allowed us or reminded us that we need to follow up with the customer and all that stuff. We had to do all that stuff ourselves. I had a yellow notepad that I had to flip through and remind myself, okay, I have to remember to contact this customer. Oh, I remember what this conversation was about. So there's all these things we had to do manually. Now today, obviously you don't have to do any of that stuff. And especially if you're selling products on e-commerce or online digital sales, you have everything at your fingertips that you don't have to worry about doing those kind of things. So in this specific moment, we're going to talk about is the sales process automation. We want to make sure that we're using all the tools that are available. And the reason why I say that is because most of the tools you're using today has everything I'm going to mention right now. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is dynamic inventory. And I know this sounds crazy that that's the first thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to the sales process. I talked to a company not too long ago and didn't know their metrics. And one of the metrics that they didn't know is their items in stock. And what I mean by that is that they would have packages that they would sell that had two separate items and they would bundle it up together for a special deal for the customer. When they would run out of inventory with one of the items, they didn't know till after the sale was done. And then they would send an alternative product. So therefore, the customer wasn't even getting what they asked for. They were getting something different. And obviously, it was a lot of customer complaints. That's because they weren't tracking inventory appropriately. The systems that today, what they do is you put in the inventory that you've received, right? And then it'll go ahead and it'll track that for you in every sale. And it'll tell you when you start to run low on that inventory. But I have one special thing that people don't do that they should. And the only way you would know this is if you build these systems before, which I have. And that is that there are actually what they call application programmable interfaces, APIs, that a lot of these manufacturers have that you can connect your system to so that if you're running low on inventory, you can reorder automatically. So you can automate that whole process. So that's available to you. And those APIs are available to you. These are automated tools that automatically work with deals, licensing deals with these companies to have access to their APIs. And you can use these in order to integrate your two systems together. And that's the cool thing about that. So dynamic inventory and dynamic inventory updates, that's a huge number one thing that you need to have in your system to automate. So second thing is automated pricing adjustments. Now, this is possible. Would I highly recommend it? I don't know. It just depends on what business and products that you offer. So there are tools out there that'll keep track of what your competitors are pricing their products at, the same products that you sell, if you sell something similar. And then you can turn around and automate the process of repricing your item on your store without you having to go find the information and then go reprice it yourself on the store. The biggest issue they have is when they have to make price adjustments on a consistent basis based on market demand, and they have to go back in there manually and constantly make those price changes. Well, you can automate that process. In fact, just right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking as a software engineer and as a technical consultant and as someone who architects software, I'm thinking in my mind, like with AI now, you could probably adjust pricing based on demand and have the artificial intelligence use machine learning in order to capture what's changed and then make the decision for you. But that's for another topic for another day. So instant order confirmation. Obviously, I mentioned it earlier about communication with the customer. Instant order confirmation. As soon as someone places their order, there should be a confirmation. They should see that. And that confirmation response to you, from you to them, is your way of establishing even more of a relationship with them. So it's really important to have something like that. And then that also goes along with your sequences, right? So when you run your automated sequences after that fact, those are all part of the same communication chain. Automated upsell sequences. So there's two ways to do automated upsell sequences. First way to do it is obviously as they're on your landing page or on your store and they go to purchase an item, you can have triggers in there that say when they click on this item, now you can show them some upsell items that are very similar or complementary to the product that they're buying. That's the first way to do it. The second way to do it is, again, with that order confirmation. When they get that email, you can use that as a moment to start upselling other items that may be complementary or maybe in addition to what they've purchased. And those are the kind of things that you can automate in your system to be more effective. All right, so that's sales process automation. And the next thing we're going to go over is operation and fulfillment. Again, follow, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.